All right, so Brad Holmes, man, he is saving football in Detroit left and right. And, you know, this really started by him transforming the Detroit Lions from what was a perennial underdog, a perennial loser for decades, into now what are contenders year in and year out. In less than 3 full seasons as the GM, Brad Holmes has really turned this team around. And when he took over as the GM, you know, he really brought a fresh perspective, if you will, clear vision to this team, identified a process, right? The process that we always speak to. And he stuck to it. He's stuck to his process, which in my opinion it's a main driver. It's a main reason why there is success in Detroit right now in this football team. He wasn't afraid to make the bold moves, like trading up, trading down the river during the last 4 drafts to acquire key players and role models that are now on this roster today and making these savvy picks that nobody thought were right, and bringing in young dynamic talent that has really shaped this football team's identity. But what we see now on the right of the screen is the reason why we're doing this video today. Michael Badgley obviously suffered a major injury in camp today, will be out for the season. But today is just another example as of why Brad Holmes is the right guy in Detroit. He didn't hesitate, not one moment, to bring in Jake Bates to challenge Michael Badgley. He felt like it was the right move, and he did anything in his power to make it happen, which was a 2-year deal for Jake Bates. Now, after 2 days of training camp, like I said, Michael Badgley is now out for the season. Where would the Lions have been had they not brought in another kicker just a few weeks ago? We would have been right back in the same situation the last 2 seasons with this revolving door that is just, you know, Riley, Michael. Just, I mean, round and round and round and round this door goes. And, you know, we've had like, what, 8, 9 kickers or something like that in the last 3 seasons. Just a big problem, right? But Brad Holmes has finally seen through it, and you know, he's seeing through the weeds, if you will, right? And has taken yet another deficiency on this team and hopefully brought in the right guy in Jake Bates to finally solidify the kicking position for hopefully a decade or longer. That's what I'm really hoping that we get out of this. Now, without the forethought and acknowledgement that, you know, this team needed another dynamic kicker to compete this season, the Lions would have been stuck, you know, without a dominant kicker again. There's a lot to really look forward to, you know, with this UFL sensation in Jake Bates. We haven't seen it all just yet. But man, I just can't wait to see how good this guy's going to be. So let's get into it now. What happened? What's next for the Lions? And what do we really have to look forward to in this season? And why is Brad Holmes saving football in Detroit? So get into a couple of articles here that talk about Michael Badgley. And here's a quote by Dan Campbell. He said, "Man, I just feel awful for Badgley, man. He worked his tail off to get ready for the season. He was having a good spring. He was ready for camp. It's tough." Now, obviously, Dan Campbell and the Lions are going to have to pivot like they did. They've got Jake Bates. But what's next? What's beyond Bates? Is Brad Holmes going to continue to solidify, an area of need with more players? Now, there's been some names tossed around. Former rival Brandon McManus from the Green Bay Packers, former kicker for the Green Bay Packers, and former Giant kicker Randy Bullock. So a couple of veteran options that could potentially make their way into to Detroit for camp competition. Another possibility is reuniting with good old Austin Seibert, you know, one of the 9 kickers that has made his way through Allen Park's front office doors there. So he's now on the Jets as a backup, and the presumed starter Greg Zuerlein obviously would mean that Seibert could be looking for another opportunity. So where does it leave the Lions? What is Brad Holmes going to do? How is he going to continue to save football in Detroit? Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking already. Well, Dan Campbell's just going to go for it on 4th down. And you know, we really only kicked, what, 7, 8 field goals last season. We really don't need a kicker. Well, then the NFC Championship game happened. A lot of you kind of changed your tune a little bit. Dan, kick the field goal. Come on, Dan, take the points. And you even heard Amon-Ra St. Brown's father saying, got to take the points there. You got to take the points there in the Netflix receiver. So I'm expecting that we're going to utilize the kicker just a little bit more. Maybe not a whole lot more, but just a little bit more. And especially in those sticky situations where you don't want to be, begging for forgiveness later. I think that Dan Campbell might, turn to his kicker a few more times this season. So obviously the Detroit Lions are looking to remain, at the top of their division. They want to win the NFC North this season. And doing it last year for the first time ever, while being a part of the new NFC North, ever since they left ever since the Central kind of disappeared, right? But making it all the way to the NFC Championship game was just not enough. It's not enough for Lions fans. We need to go further. So we need to get that Super Bowl trophy in Detroit just once in my lifetime. But that's what Brad Holmes is trying to figure out, right? He's going to end up taking this team the distance. He's going to continue to save football in Detroit, and it was fully on display today. Having an amazing kicker like Jake Bates already on this team, ready to go. Camp competition has just been incredible already. It is exactly what Brad Holmes said it was going to be. It's a bloodbath. It just about every area on this squad. I don't care what position it is. There is competition everywhere except for quarterback, but there's competition everywhere. And that's what's going to make this team better. So, look, my thoughts and well wishes are with Michael Badgley. We don't like to see injuries to any player in the NFL, but especially our own in Detroit. But Brad Holmes, man, hats off to you. Seeing it, right? You saw it, you went after it, you locked them down, and now we have a chance. We have a chance because, believe it or not, kicker is a much needed position in the NFL. You just never know when, your 4th and 3s just kind of run out, and it's time to kick the field goal. So hats off to you, Brad Holmes. Continue to save football in Detroit for all of us fans. I can't wait to see you guys out there at training camp this next week. Still have training camp tickets, so if you want to go, please email me at mailbag@rockedon.com. I still have a few tickets left, and just for doing this video here, reach out. We'll see what kind of tickets we can get to you guys for next week. So go on Pride, go Detroit Lions. That's it for this video. Just wanted to give you guys a little update on Brad Holmes saving Detroit football. All right, you guys, take care. Bye-bye.